The Ancient Egyptian Guide to the Afterlife, the Book of the Dead. Welcome to our video on the Egyptian Book of the Dead, one of the most fascinating and significant documents of ancient Egypt. This book, also known as the Book of Coming Forth by Day, is a collection of spells, prayers, and rituals intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife and into the realm of the gods. The Book of the Dead provides us with a unique window into the beliefs, customs, and practices of the ancient Egyptians, and has captured the imagination of scholars, artists, and adventurers for centuries. In this video, we will explore the origins, contents, and significance of this remarkable text, and discover why it remains one of the most intriguing and influential documents of human history. 1. Where and how it was discovered. The Egyptian Book of the Dead was not found in a single location, but rather, in various tombs and burial sites throughout Egypt. Many of the surviving copies were buried with their owners and discovered by archaeologists during excavations of ancient tombs. One of the most famous discoveries of the Book of the Dead was made in 1881, when the English archaeologist and Egyptologist, Sir E. A. Wallace Budge, acquired a large collection of papyri from a tomb in Thebes. Among these papyri was a beautifully illustrated copy of the Book of the Dead, which became one of the most famous and widely studied examples of the text. 2. Where is the Book of the Dead now? Today, the Book of the Dead is scattered across museums and collections around the world, with some of the most significant examples housed in the British Museum in London, the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, and the Louvre in Paris. Other notable examples can be found in museums in the United States, Germany, and other countries with collections of ancient Egyptian artifacts. 3. Size and length of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. It can vary depending on the specific copy, as well as the social status and wealth of the individual for whom it was made. Some copies are quite long, consisting of multiple papyri scrolls that can be up to 30 feet in length, while others are shorter and may consist of a single papyrus sheet. Generally speaking, a typical copy of the Book of the Dead might contain around 200 spells, prayers, and illustrations, although this can vary significantly. The spells themselves are often relatively short, and can range from a few words to several paragraphs in length. It's worth noting that the Book of the Dead was not a fixed or standardized text, but rather a collection of spells and prayers that were chosen and customized based on the individual needs and beliefs of the person for whom the copy was made. As a result, there is a great deal of variation between different copies of the Book of the Dead, both in terms of their content and their physical characteristics. 4. History of the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead is a collection of spells and rituals that were compiled during the New Kingdom period in Egypt, 1550 to 1070 BCE. It was primarily intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife and help them navigate the dangerous journey to the afterworld. The book was written on papyrus or linen and was placed in the tomb with the mummy. 5. Purpose of the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead was meant to be a guide for the deceased as they journeyed through the afterlife. It contains spells and incantations that would protect the deceased from harm and provide them with the necessary knowledge and resources to reach the afterworld. The spells were also intended to help the deceased pass judgment and gain admittance into the afterlife. 6. Structure of the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead is not a single document but rather a collection of texts that vary in length and content. The texts are divided into chapters or spells and were arranged in a specific order. The spells were grouped according to their function, and there were chapters that dealt with purification, protection, judgment, and resurrection. 7. The role of Anubis in the Book of the Dead. Anubis was one of the most important gods in the Egyptian pantheon, and he played a crucial role in the Book of the Dead. Anubis was the god of mummification and was responsible for ensuring that the deceased was properly prepared for the afterlife. He was also the guardian of the scales of justice and would weigh the heart of the deceased against a feather to determine if they were worthy of entering the afterlife. 8. The Negative Confession. The Negative Confession is a series of declarations that the deceased made before the gods during the judgment scene. The confessions consisted of a list of 42 sins that the deceased had not committed. The Negative Confession was a way for the deceased to prove their innocence and gain admittance into the afterlife. 9. The Weighing of the Heart. The weighing of the heart was a crucial part of the judgment scene. Anubis would weigh the heart of the deceased against a feather, which represented Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the deceased would be allowed to enter the afterlife. However, if the heart was heavier than the feather, the deceased would be devoured by the monster Amit. 10. The Ba and the Ka. The Ba and the Ka were two of the essential elements of the human soul, according to Egyptian mythology. The Ba was the part of the soul that could travel freely between the afterlife and the physical world, while the Ka was the vital life force that animated the body. The Book of the Dead contains spells that were intended to ensure the survival of both the Ba and the Ka. 11. The Spell of Going Forth by Day. The spell of going forth by day, also known as the Book of the Dead, was the most famous and widespread of all the chapters. The spell was intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife and provide them with the necessary knowledge and resources to reach the afterworld. The spell was also intended to help the deceased pass judgment and gain admittance into the afterlife. 12. The Anjuab. The Anjuab was a text that was intended to guide the deceased through the underworld. The text described the journey of the sun god, Ra, through the 12 hours of the night. Each hour was guarded by a different deity, and the text contained spells that were intended to protect the deceased from harm and ensure their safe passage through the underworld. 13. The Opening of the Mouth Ceremony. The opening of the mouth ceremony was a ritual that was performed on the mummy of the deceased before burial. The ceremony was intended to ensure that the deceased could eat, drink, and speak in the afterlife. The ceremony involved the use of a special instrument called a adze, which was used to open the mouth and eyes of the deceased. 14. The Book of Caverns. The Book of Caverns was another text that was intended to guide the deceased through the underworld. The text described the journey of the sun god, Ra, through the underworld, where he encountered various deities and monsters. The book contains spells and incantations that were intended to protect the deceased from harm and ensure their safe passage through the underworld. 15. The Book of the Earth. The Book of the Earth was a text that was intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife. The book described the journey of the sun god, Ra, through the afterworld, where he encountered various deities and monsters. The book contains spells and incantations that were intended to protect the deceased from harm and ensure their safe passage through the afterlife. 16. The Book of Gates. The Book of Gates was a text that was intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife. The book described the journey of the sun god, Ra, through the afterworld, where he encountered various deities and monsters. The book contains spells and incantations that were intended to protect the deceased from harm and ensure their safe passage through the afterlife. 17. The Book of the Heavenly Cow. The Book of the Heavenly Cow was a text that was intended to guide the deceased through the afterlife. The book described the journey of the sun god, Ra, through the afterworld, where he encountered various deities and monsters. The book contains spells and incantations that were intended to protect the deceased from harm and ensure their safe passage through the afterlife. In conclusion, the Egyptian Book of the Dead is a testament to the deep spiritual and cultural legacy of ancient Egypt. Thank you for watching, and we hope you have enjoyed this exploration of the Egyptian Book of the Dead.